Yo, what is up, my friends? क्या हाल है? Welcome to another episode of Dostcast. मेरा नाम है विनम्र कसाना. If you are new to my channel, please subscribe because we release new episodes every Tuesday and Friday. अगर आप ऑडियो प्लेटफॉर्म से सुन रहे हो इस पॉडकास्ट को तो 5 स्टार दो क्योंकि तुम्हें पता है यार बाप पॉडकास्ट है. Having said that, today's guest, his name is Nonsensical Nemo. ये एक Substack writer हैं, but on the other hand, he works for Hindustan Times as a newsletter editor. तो जितना क्लिकबेट करना हमें आता है, लेगेसी ट्रेडिशनल मीडिया के माध्यम से इतना ही इन भाई साहब को भी आता है और ये बड़े ही कॉमिकल इंसान हैं. His takes on Mamta Banerjee, Lalu Prasad Yadav, the Gandhis, Narendra Modi, all the big shot politicians of India, and उसके ऊपर एक comical lens provide करना, providing satire to that, all of those wonderful things. I discovered him on Twitter, and I've been following his Substack ever since. The episode with Nonsensical Nemo, Urf, Nirmalya Dutta, begins in 3, 2, 1. Nonsensical Nemo, where does the name come from?
Nemo is an old nickname that I've had since school. And I wanted to write stuff without having any retribution, so nonsensical.
I see. Because I was reminded of Finding Nemo. I thought you tried it.
Finding Nemo is named after 20,000 Leagues Captain Nemo.
Achha, I did not know that fact.
And Nemo also means nothing.
Yeah. On that note, before हम लोग podcast शुरू कर रहे थे, we talked about how you were in the Sunny Leone documentary.
Yes.
Right? Mostly Sunny. It's not on Netflix anymore. They took it down.
It's on Prime.
It's on Prime, yeah. You were saying in 2014 she was the most searched person
in the country. 2012, 2013, 2014.
तो ऐसा क्या हुआ? Why were they like यार Nonsensical Nemo से बात करते हैं? ये बता सकते हैं Sunny Leone के बारे में?
Yes, because that's what people want. Search histories do not lie. We can pretend to be a conservative country, but our search history tells otherwise.
Yeah, you know there's porn on Twitter as well.
Yeah.
When I was very surprised. It's like, अगर मैं ऐसे देखूंगा from my own history, in the future will I then be fucking cancelled? So I just decided not to. But I've been told that it's like it's because Twitter is the hub of free speech, allegedly. They have porn there, which is, I mean, I don't think any other social media has that. Instagram has just freed the nipple a few years ago.
True.
Yeah.
But Twitter isn't porn per se, right?
Yeah. It's like an extension of OnlyFans.
Yeah. Some people have accounts there.
Yeah.
Basically not shut down. So which means children can access it.
Really?
Yeah.
So if I'm a 14-year-old and I go online on Twitter and I search porn, I can just say ki wow, yahan pe.
Yeah. It's like a 14-year-old buying guns in America. They can do that. They can't get porn there, but they can buy guns.
अब ये एक बड़ी अजीब सी बात है. It's so funny when Indians start to comment on gun control in America as if like it's an issue that is closer to their hearts.
Yeah. In Bandra and South Bombay and Def Call, I'm sure there are children making play cards saying that
gun control. कौन देख रहा है उन्हें?
देख रहे हैं बच्चे. It's like Avatar here.
Yeah, it's like if you want to get admission to Wharton School of Business, there are better things to do, to get there. You know, because people also do it as a part of their co-curricular activities, show how woke they are online and join these.
Yeah, the thing is, in India, they just copy whatever school in America. So you have Black Lives Matter here. And no one talks about police atrocity in India. If you asked a kid talking about George Floyd, ask them who was the last person killed in a police station here, they will be hard-pressed to name anyone.
That is true. Yeah, George Floyd ka bahut, it was a international movement.
In fact, there was a very funny thing. Then Obama, when he commented on the Texas shooting, then he gave a link to donate money. So, which is what I say. All activism at the end of the day is paisa leke aaya ki nahi. That Akshay Kumar means.
Yeah, it's what's also funny about this is you mentioned something along the lines of in one of your Substack essays. Do you call them essays or articles?
Anything.
Essays, right? You said that a lot of foreign journalists, like your piece on why women vote for, it was a rebuttal piece on why women vote for Modi, right?
Yeah, the BBC piece.
The BBC piece. And you said कि BBC को क्या चाहिए? BBC को ये चाहिए कि जो खान मार्केट के अंदर 6 पढ़े लिखे लोग हैं वो बताए कि इंडिया का सबऑल्टर्न इंसान क्या फील कर रहा है. And based on that, they make their essays look appealing to their audiences.
It has no connection to reality in India.
But then the question arises, कौन है subaltern? Like, to what extent can someone claim, यार मैं तो इतने harsh circumstances से आया हूँ इसलिए मेरा claim valid है?
There's no one who can claim to speak the voice of the subaltern because India is a very diverse country.
Right.
Geographically, linguistically, idea-wise, no one can speak for India. And what I wrote in that article also is, why do people vote for Modi? End of the day, it comes down to what's in it for me. Obviously, in the last 8 years, voters have got things they want. Whether we agree with that or not is different. Whether we agree with what BJP is saying that this is what people want is different. There are enough people voting.
Yeah.
The problem is when your opponents win, you hear people complaining, oh, there's a first past the post system. Yeah, 1947.
Sorry, what? First past?
So we follow the Westminster system called the first past the post system. So whoever has the maximum votes in a seat will win. So someone can win with 30% vote.
First past the
post.
Post. Okay, जैसे वो racing के अंदर होते हैं. Yeah, okay.
It's the same system that exists in the UK.
Okay.
The parliamentary system, as opposed to the American presidential system. We have a first past the post system. And now we have people complaining only 39% or 37% voted for BJP. That means everyone else is against BJP.
Yeah.
But we didn't hear these laments before. जब तक अपने बंदे जीते थे ठीक था. And suddenly the electoral process is now flawed.
Yeah, it's a very weird thing how the BJP continues to be in power. Like no matter what happens, they still, their electoral magic still works up. Socially, whatever you do online, in physical life, when it comes to elections, they always win.
No, but then we have to remember online is not physical life.
Yeah, but I think a lot of people believe that to be the case.
Yeah, even among Twitter's right wing, the issues they think are important to people
are not.
Arey, जिसको gas मिला है first time, which is something I wrote in that BBC piece also. Someone who got gas for the first time, someone who got a pakka toilet. What does it matter what the media is shouting about, or someone who got rations? During COVID, people did get rations. In fact, it started a new debate that there's a new type of voter called Labh Bhartiyas, welfareist voters, which is harsh.
What are welfareist voters?
Well, it's called Labh Bhartis.
Labh Bhartis, Labh उठाने वाले. हाँ.
The welfare voters, that there's new. There's not new. The Indian state is a welfare state. What might have been the case is earlier a major chunk of the resources did not reach people. Rajiv Gandhi's famous 16 paisa में 1 रुपए में सिर्फ 16 पैसा पहुंचता है. So similarly, there are things that people are doing which is working. Because at the end of the day, people keep saying that people vote for Hindutva. If that was the case, then since BJP emerged in 1982, probably 82 or 84, they wouldn't have lost after that.
Yeah. Yeah, in one of your essays, you also mentioned how a party, you mentioned a book, The New BJP, which you said everyone should read. Yeah. I couldn't read it, but...
So it's written by Nalin Kohli. He's a very thorough journalist. He's done a lot of research for that book. It really goes into how the BJP has changed the Indian political system.
What do you think has changed? Kyunki isse pehle, I remember when I was growing up in the UPA era, right? I would hear just yahi sarkar hai, this is how it happens. And the NDA was, for me at least, as a layman kid at that time.
Which year are we talking?
Like, I would say like around 2004 is when I remember ki NDA hota tha, but like I would just read it on the news channel, like NDA bhi kuch hai. उसका वजूद इतना बड़ा हो जाएगा, no one had expected it. In 2014, when Modi was all over Facebook, like I remember we would come home from school and like say कि यार ये कुछ नया होने वाला है इंडिया के अंदर, because he would do.
But this has been around like in the old days, Orkut days. There were Advani fans on Orkut who used to talk about in 2004 Advani is coming.
Orkut पे अडवाणी की बात होती थी.
अरे बड़ा. There used to be hardcore BJP backers from then also. See, BJP always had a core voter base. It's the new voters that have been added to it.
Of who is the core voter base?
Earlier it was the upper caste, the Baniyas. So in places like Gujarat and all, they've always won, right? It's been 5 terms, 6 terms. Being in power for 6 terms is a very long thing. It's almost impossible.
It's like Putin's Gujarat.
Putin को तो असली वोट नहीं फेस करना पड़ता है ना.
हाँ, खैर ये सीन तो है. Yeah, one thing you mentioned in the rebuttal to the BBC, why women vote for BJP.
I was just making fun of it.
Yeah, it was great. It was a great rebuttal though. और उसके अंदर ऐसी बातें बता रखी थी कि Modi is like a male sex symbol. His 56-inch chest is like a muscular strong man, whatever. I don't think anyone in the BJP is thinking, let's portray Modi as a sex symbol. I think this is just a foolish tomfoolery.
I'll tell you what happens. Journalists, they come up with a term and then they try to back up that term. Someone used that term in the early 2000s when Modi came.
Yeah.
The first time he won. And that has just stuck. So you always, I don't know if you've read that. I wrote a piece for HT also. Dil mein aata hu.
Samajh mein nahi aata.
Why Yogi wins and people can't understand. So in which I had explained this. People keep saying that police law all over. Let's say. But even a gangster like Dubey is encountered. Now we can discuss rule of law all day long. But someone who's from Dubey's village and has been terrorized by that will be very helpful. Will be thankful. And the idea that only one group is being targeted is not true.
Yeah.
If a Brahmin gangster is being killed, that means that the rule of law applies to everyone to a certain degree.
Right. Yeah, but it's difficult because with Yogi, there was also a clip that circulated. I don't know if you saw that, where he's like, "Arey chutiye, kya kar rahe ho?" And they said it's a deep fake, but it was hilarious. I think that what is wonderful is that aaj ke netaon ko, if they swear a little, I think it makes them more endearing rather than the opposite. Because no one, after Trump, after the populist politics of Modi as well, it is totally okay to make mistakes. Like we're sort of moving away from the statesman model of like perfect prim speeches and all of that.
So that's because there are cameras 24/7. If there's a camera on anyone 24/7, if there was a camera on you and me 24/7, we'd all look foolish.
Yeah.
You can't be not correct.
Shout out to Big Boss, guys.
So yeah, if you have cameras all the time, you will say something that seems silly. Which is why I find it unfair. In fact, something, if you didn't know, on NPR,
National Political Radio USA के अंदर चलता है.
हाँ. NPR में they remove when people say but they remove those from people's speeches, so they sound smarter. But they don't do that for presidential candidates, so they sound dumber.
Wow, they do that deliberately.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter कौन सी party से. Do they do it for Republicans only?
No, they do it for everyone. In NPR, there's someone on Twitter told me. There's a guy called Dabash. I follow a lot of smart people on Twitter who follow politics in the US and India. He's the one who told me this.
But that's editorial maliciousness.
No, you're just making regular people sound smarter. Presidents should sound the way they are.
Why would he do that though? Like it just makes no sense.
If you notice Americans speaking, they tend to say you know a lot.
हाँ. हम भी ऐसा करते हैं जैसे आपको पता ही है अरे एकदम है ना हम भी करते हैं but there's this thing that Tom Spanbauer who is the mentor for Chuck Palahniuk जिसने Fight Club और Choke Survivor ये सारी so he says that हम अपनी किताबों में से we remove burnt tongue is these ums and ahs कहता है but it just actually grounds the book in real life speech. So he follows that school of thought, and I'm a big advocate of that. Like if you, because I know a lot of like long form recordings also do that, जहाँ पे वो सारे pauses वगैरह eliminate कर देते हैं. Even the Google Podcasts app has a feature which allows you to delete the pauses in a recording, so it all sounds very intelligent.
If you did that with Rahul Gandhi's recent video, it will just be 1 second.
What is the recent video? Where he's thinking?
Yeah.
What he's thinking?
Yeah. When he's being asked, what is the compact between violence and non-violence in India? What does that question even mean?
हाँ वो जानबूझ के just put him in a tough spot unnecessarily.
He should have said बोलना क्या चाहते हो बहन बताओ क्या पूछ क्या रहे हो?
Yeah, I think he does not do the thing where if you have a vernacular like leader वो ऐसा कर लेते हैं. Whenever they feel like the journalist is being too smart, they're like क्या कर रहे हो?
Yeah, someone like Mamta would do that.
Yeah.
She's not that followed this site, but she's a very good orator. And she's learned a lot of Hindi in the recent, which is funny because she speaks with a very Bengali tang, but we follow her speeches, they're quite entertaining.
I thought she had a lot of, like, मेरे को लगता था कि she could potentially be a PM candidate, but then I realized, like, this is my own hypothesis as a nobody, कि I think as long as the North has a stronghold over Hindi, all our PMs will be Hindi speakers.
And when you have delineation the next time, the North will get far more seats.
What do you mean? What is जो states दोबारा से divide करेंगे?
नहीं, the seats will be divided based on the population, the Lok Sabha seats. So the South will probably get fewer seats because the population is more in the North.
Right.
So that's why you have this entire outrage from the South, right? Cooperative federalism. You're doing this, you're doing that.
What is cooperative federalism?
I don't know. News Minute asks for votes based on that.
Acha. Okay.
Okay, cooperative federalism, the idea is that in India, certain things will be handled by the state and the others by the center. And they shall work together to create that. But then you have these governors who are there in states just to attack the CMs. So, in fact, this entire system of having a governor is kind of unfair on people who have actually won elections.
Just what happened with Arvind Kejriwal in Delhi for so many years.
No, but Delhi, you still have an LG. Delhi is a union territory. You have a very vocal governor in Bengal. You had Kiran Bedi.
But he has no voter base. What does he like?
He's just there to instigate the party there.
But do the people listen to the governor?
It doesn't matter. The governor still has constitutional powers. He can be a thorn in the neck for any CM if he wants. This Kiran Bedi was when she was in.
Kiran Bedi was a governor at some point?
Puducherry.
Acha.
Puducherry only, if I'm not mistaken.
Kiran Bedi has been a lot of things, including Vipassana,
picking up Indira Gandhi's.
What?
So she was most famous for towing Indira Gandhi's car. Although Indira Gandhi was not in the car or anything, but when she was Delhi SP or one of the positions, she towed a car that apparently belonged to Indira Gandhi. So she was very proud of that. She would even have that on her Twitter bio at some point. Or Kiran Bedi, she shares such funny videos.
Yeah, she's done the whole Judge Judy Act as well in India. मतलब अपना वो चलाना. It's weird, no? Because if your career is as a policeman, first woman police person, right? First woman police officer, sorry. Then it's not like तुम reality show judge कर सकते हो, because that has entertainment. So you have to operate within the same realms. I can deliver justice now. I can be in documentaries. I can do a bunch of those things. But it'd be funny if she I don't know what she does now as a retired, is she, I'm not sure if she's sought after anymore. I think her era of oh wow, Kiran Bedi has just gone.
No, it's gone.
Yeah. One thing you mentioned in your essays is here, I'll just read it out. Why? Because this is the first thing that got me onto your Substack.
Which essay was that?
I'm not going to put you on the spot. In general, the idea of neutrality in journalism is quite preposterous. Humans can't be neutral. We aren't bots. Our internal biases, our political choices, our heuristic availability, and our lived experiences will always color our vision of reality. इससे बढ़िया non-objectivity की definition मैंने बिल्कुल नहीं पढ़ी है. Like this whole idea, because you're also a trained journalist, right?
No, I'm not a trained journalist.
You're not? Sorry, guys.
I was doing engineering. I dropped out. I never called myself a journalist. I've always worked in online media.
Right. So online media के अंदर objectivity is not that. My point is, what I'm getting at is, ये जो चीज़ ना, this whole idea that neutrality and objectivity are the bedrock of what a good journalist is. उसका counter point कभी नहीं मिलता कि at the end of the day वो इंसान है and is colored by choices, decisions, upbringing, geography, local influence, all of that, right?
Obviously. Also, if you consider, it's like people say I'm secular. What does that mean? A state can be secular. How can a person be secular? How can a party be secular? Secular means equidistant to all religions. That's not feasible for a human being. You cannot. Even
you will have to be a monk in a forest, a non-sectarian monk. किसी का भी monk नहीं. You can't be a Buddhist monk or a Hindi monk or a Hindu monk.
No. It's not feasible. Yeah. It's not feasible to be completely neutral. I don't think journalists should pretend also. It's one thing which I think is sad about Indian journalism. In America, this guy is a Republican supporter. Fox में काम करता है, right wing है. NPR में काम करता है, CNN में काम करता है, left wing है. CNN Plus में नहीं काम करता है. बंद हो गई. There was a joke that there are so few people subscribe to CNN Plus, they just had to write a mail to 2 people कि भाई कल से बंद है.
Damn. Yeah, what did it do, CNN Plus?
So it was supposed to be a paid subscription model for fans of CNN. Sadly, they realized there aren't too many fans of CNN.
Yeah, Joe Rogan has taken over. Joe Rogan ki viewership is like millions, 11 million per episode.
In fact, that's why they hate Joe Rogan so much. He's willing to talk to everyone.
Yeah.
He has liberal people on. He has conservatives on.
Yeah.
He listens to everyone's views. In fact, I never got around to writing that piece. I wanted to write one on Western media and put in. The last time I saw Western media this united was when they were trying to deplatform Joe Rogan from Spotify.
हाँ, सारे आ गए थे एक साथ. All of these guys came out of the woodwork. Even like the Dwayne The Rock Johnson is like, नहीं, Joe Rogan अपना भाई है. Then he's like, उसने N-word बोला, sorry यार, हमारा भाई नहीं है ये. Because he also has to run for president. Yeah. It's very tricky managing reputations when you are supposed to defend your friends publicly. To like, at what point do you toe the line? At what point do you think, यार कल को मेरे को ये vote देंगे? I have to be careful. It's very tricky doing it when your friendships are public.
But Trump didn't care.
That's why I like Trump, because he introduced entertainment, a level of persuasion unlike anything I've seen in the international media sphere, and I kind of miss him.
Yeah.
I really miss Trump.
I work in online media, so my salary is paid by how many page views I get.
Right.
And Trump got me more page views than any politician.
Let's go. He knew he was the media's darling,
and he managed to get votes. He's a third time married. Former reality star, dancing to a YMCA song, which is an LGBT anthem, and he's still getting votes from conservatives. There's something about the guy.
It's also because, you know what, बहुत समय के बाद America had a leader that like, हम जीतने आए हैं, हम जीतेंगे. And he was unafraid of showing his dirty laundry to the world, which allowed his voter base to say, यार ठीक है, I'd rather accept this guy.
He had so many voters from the Hispanic community, other places like. The idea is the same goes for BJP here. We keep hearing so many op-eds that SCs, STs are anti-BJP.
Yeah.
Look at the 2019 elections. They got more than 50% of all SC, ST seats.
Yeah.
Am I supposed to trust an op-ed about reality, or am I supposed to trust the voter?
Yeah.
I trust the voter. The same goes for Trump. In fact, Trump had something where he could talk to someone and put them at ease, and he would answer all questions from the harshest media critic. In fact, when he was trying to broker peace with North Korea, he told the media that if it doesn't work out, then fine, I'll make up some excuse. He said that out loud.
सही है ना. देखो पता क्या होता है, it's just like you'd rather trust a liar to their face. कि हाँ यार, आप तो झूठ बोलते ही हो, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. अब कोई आदमी बोले मैं आपका बहुत भला करने आया हूँ, मैं आपको ये कर दूंगा, और वो झूठ बोलता है, like that is like this is why I see the statesman model dying down. This whole like I will read off my talking points, I will talk about these general broad brushstrokes that my team of psychologists is prepared.
That's why Kamala Harris comes across as so fake. Yeah,
she's very fake.
In fact, she made up an grandfather freedom fighter who was not a freedom fighter.
But ये जो चीज़ होती है ना, this is something I read in your Lalu Yadav piece as well, ठीक है, about Yadav's association to Krishna, right? क्योंकि ऐसा होता है ना कि यादव वो करते हैं, मतलब they're typically like a lot of them, their origin stories are the fact that they are milkmen, right? Cowherds is the right word. तो this origin story को repaint करके ये मैंने कई जगह पे देखा है. Like I've also attended election rallies here in UP and Haryana. Depending on which, especially if a politician goes to a village which is sort of hostile to him, the first thing he will do to ease the tensions is he'll mention कि मेरा यहाँ पे फलाना रिश्तेदार है, if he's not too smart, or it'll be like मैं इसी मिट्टी का बेटा हूँ, ठीक है. And then he'll add कि हम वहाँ से 26 किलोमीटर चल के यहाँ आया करते थे, धूल उड़ती थी, तो इसी मिट्टी के अंदर आपके परम पिता परमात्मा फलाने.
Everyone does it. Modi also does it. Like ये मेरा कर्म भूमि था, ये मेरा जन्म भूमि था, यहाँ पे मेरा ये था. Whenever he goes anywhere, असम से मेरा पुराना रिश्ता है. Every state has a पुराना रिश्ता.
But it's great. It's like one of the few things that I really enjoy about like political speaking is that how do they invent origin stories on the spot, या वो घर से सोच के आते हैं. Like the Modi tea seller thing and the Lalu Yadav का वो कि associating himself with Krishna also adds a level of like like a क्या बोलते हैं, it just completes the whole like Indian psyche के अंदर. It's not just politics, it's also God, right? And culture. So it just blends the two together very well.
It works. See, we might pretend otherwise, but India is a very religious country. So that works, and we don't have just one God. There are lots of gods. Although, I don't know if you saw that. There was recently someone had said that there's an old mistranslation that there are 33 crore gods. 33 koti.
That's your pinned Substack, yeah.
So it's actually, I was talking to my dad about this. So it's actually 33 koti means 33 core gods.
Core gods. So 33 core gods, right?
Not crore.
Yeah.
Core.
So this is going to piss a lot of people off clearly because सब लोग ये मानते हैं कि हमारे देश के अंदर 33 करोड़ गॉड्स हैं, but it's like
that's a mistranslation.
हाँ, क्योंकि उच्च कोटि, like you mentioned, like बंगाली में बोलते हैं उच्च कोटि is the highest, right? I've heard this term elsewhere as well. I've heard it in Himachal Pradesh. I've heard it in Haryana. ये कि उच्च कोटि, some, I'm forgetting the exact context, but is it founded in some reality?
Yeah. 33 gods, in fact. I don't remember, but there are 33 base gods.
Okay.
Not 30 million or 33 crore.
Yeah, but just for example, ऐसा होता है in the mountains, they have even if there's a hill, there's a lot of devis associated with hills, and Himachal Pradesh में they worship those. But ऐसा हो सकता है कि extrapolated gods हों 33 से.
No, but that's why Hinduism has survived so long, right? It's the last pagan religion standing.
Yeah, you think it's pagan?
It is polytheistic. It is a pagan religion by the definition of the word pagan.
Who are Macaulay Putras?
Macaulay Putras are people who are Indian only in appearance, but who think like an Englishman, talk like an Englishman, behave like an Englishman. For example, it's from Macaulay only. He believed that to rule over the race, we would need to create a group of people who would behave like us and would listen to us. So that is where the
Sahibs,
brown Sahibs. And the thing is, since we are always conversing in English, and English is the English is the lingua franca of the world in that sense. So we are always thinking like the English. So first we had the British, now we have America with its Hollywood propaganda. No matter how much we might hate Hollywood propaganda, at the end of the day, we are consuming it 24/7, which means that our language will be through that eyes. That's why it's so easy to vilify Putin.
We don't English नहीं बोलता ना वो.
We don't have a common language. We understand the English. We understand the Americans. That's why.
Yeah, so Indians relate to Putin on sentiment and emotions.
हाँ, वो दिल में आता है. Putin is like शर्मा जी का बेटा of world leaders. जो मन में आता है करता है.
Yeah, but you know what? There's an interesting story I have about Macaulay. So I did not know who this Macaulay person is.
Lord Macaulay.
ठीक है, but मैं this pandit had come to my house for a puja, and I was supposed to drop him off back to his place. ठीक है, on the way, I have done the typical small talk. I'm like, I was interested to know कि one more thing. I will just पहले ये वाली story खत्म करता हूँ, then I'll tell you one more thing about this puja. So this pandit is peculiar because he comes off as a scholar. The other pandit is involved in the ritualistic aspect कि मंत्र वगैरह पढ़ना. This one sits in the back, right? He also reads some mantras, but he always has very interesting comments about the state of India and particularly Hinduism, right? And he considers himself as the forebearer of Hinduism as being पंडित है, ठीक है? तो मैं जा रहा था, तो मैंने कहा यार और क्या चल रहा है मंदिर के अंदर, like I want to talk to him. We have about 15 minutes. He's like ये सब जो आर्य समाजी होते हैं मुझे तो पसंद नहीं है, ऐसे अपनी बता रहा था. मैंने कहा ठीक है, बढ़िया है. And then I think eventually what happens now with the BJP, at least one thing that has emerged is like, अरे यार वेदों में सब कुछ लिखा है. This casual dismissal of everything and just saying वेदों में हमारे वेदों में इससे बढ़िया लिखा है. This like I don't know, like this past में जाके एक superiority achieve करना, I don't know how valid it is. And it's like ये सब ना खराब करने वाला Macaulay है, ये Macaulay ने करा है. I had no idea what Macaulay is. Initially I thought वो Home Alone वाला लड़का होगा शायद. So I was a little confused. But then
Succession में भी था.
Succession में भी था. अच्छा वो आगे है.
हाँ, he's Roman.
अच्छा, okay. So the point is कि I was very intrigued कि ये सब Macaulay ने खराब करा है. Now he's a pandit in Faridabad, right? It's like what information source does he get? And like what is he propagating in his life कि उसको लगता है कि Macaulay हर चीज़ की जड़ है. So for contextualizing, क्या करा है इस Macaulay ने ऐसा?
No, he's right in that sense. He made Hindus, I'm saying because majority were Hindus, he managed to make them anglicized and deracinated to a certain degree.
Deracinated is separated from their own culture, right?
Yeah. So they're more English than Indian or Hindu or Muslim or whatever religion they follow. They believe in and this is part of the British propaganda also, that against the previous rulers, the Mughals and others, that they were brutes, we are cultured people. That is the core of this entire Macaulay Putra thing. And at the end of the day, knowing English is a benefit. No one can contest that.
Correct.
इनफैक्ट जर्नलिज्म तो उसी पे चल रहा है. हम लोगों को कुछ आता ही नहीं. वी हैव नो टैंजिबल स्किल बियॉन्ड knowing and speaking and writing English. इसलिए the same guy one day he's a radiation expert, the next day he's only talking about COVID. अगले दिन power grid पे बात करने आ जाएगा.
कोर स्किल है, उसको एक्सट्रैपोलेट कहीं पे भी कर दो. हाँ.
So if you know English, you can get by in this country to a certain degree.
But who was Macaulay? What did he do? मैं वो जानना चाह रहा हूँ थोड़ा सा.
Macaulay was a British I think he was a governor general. I have to check once. But I think he was a former governor general. But check कर लेते हैं. We should not spread fake news.
Hey guys, this is what happens when you get someone who works in journalism. Get live fact checking.
Thomas Babington Macaulay. He was the Secretary of War. No.
I'm assuming he had like an impact on India's education system.
34 to 38. He was here.
Okay. Because this Pandit was talking about how
he has a very famous line. I have conversed both here and at home with men distinguished by their proficiency in the Eastern tongues. I am quite ready to take the Oriental learning at the valuation of the Orientalists themselves. And this is where the core of his philosophy. I have never found one among them who could deny that a single shelf good European library was worth the whole native literature of India and Arabia. So basically he's saying that one bookshelf from Europe is more than the entire knowledge contained in India and Arabia.
उसने उनकी supremacy दिखा दी है that this is obviously more superior than whatever you have. All your Indic philosophy, all your Vedas, Gita, Upanishad, सब कुछ.
In fact, if you've read that BBC piece, I've also written about Frederick Forsyth in that.
Yes, I couldn't exactly understand who that was. What is?
So Frederick Forsyth is he's the best known thriller writer in the world for the last 20-30 years.
Okay.
He wrote a book called The Day of the Jackal, which became the stereotype of thriller writers, thriller novels that would happen, in which he described a real person and how people are trying to assassinate that person. That one was about Charles de Gaulle. So before that, he was a BBC correspondent in Nigeria, where he found out that the British government was working with a tyrant, and when he wanted to say that story, BBC fired him. So he quit. So I use that as an example that the idea that BBC is neutral is laughable.
Yeah. It's
So that was the main thing. In fact, you should try and read Forsyth. He's a great...
I'll check him out. As far as English writers are concerned, I did read Theodore Dalrymple.
Williams, is he related to Williams?
No, he's not. He talks about the plight of the West. कैसे उनका culture एकदम बर्बाद हो गया. He was a conservative writer. Jordan Peterson की reading list पे था. I found him. I really liked him. Where he's like, not everything is hunky-dory here. Look at the stabbings in our country. Look at the fact कि हमारे mental institutions में कौन लोग भरे हुए हैं. A very dismal approach to England. But I also wanted to talk about this. Now you mentioned in your Lalu Prasad piece, Lalu Prasad's reign was a reminder that nepotism, casteism, mafia raj and self-inducement through state coffers was no longer the preserve of upper caste elites. ठीक है. लालू प्रसाद के पहले हम इससे पहले बात कर रहे थे बिफोर द पॉडकास्ट कि वाकई में ऐसा है कि लालू प्रसाद वाज दिस लवेबल बफून ऑल अक्रॉस इंडिया. यू इवन मेंशन कि जिन लोगों को तुम अगर अभी किसी एलीट सोसाइटी यहाँ एलीट लोकेलिटीज के अंदर दिल्ली मुंबई के अंदर they'll not know like, oh Lalu, what a fun guy. Yeah, fun guy. He's like an entertainer personality, and yet you and your family lived in the time of Lalu. तो जितनी गुंडाई और बदमाशी उसके राज में चलती थी, that gets sort of removed from the equation when we talk about him.
Because for Delhi media, it's not that important, right? For them, it's what we call parachute journalism. They turn up 5 days before the election and they understand the mahal. I'll never understand that. I don't even know what my relatives want today. How can you figure out what people want by turning up 5 days earlier?
This is what Manu Joseph also calls taxi driver journalism, right? Where in order to understand a city, you just go, okay, oh, taxi driver से बात कर लेंगे. हर आदमी करता जाके. सर यहाँ किसकी सरकार आ रही है? आप इसको वोट देते हो भाई? मैं तो इसको वोट देता हूँ. ओह, माहौल ये है.
Yeah. In fact, like there's a famous economist. In fact, in Decoupled also, that guy is spoofed.
Yeah.
So he's a famous taxi driver journalist. Like he finds taxi drivers in New York City who have a lot to say about India's farm laws. मेरे को यहाँ पे taxi driver एक ही चीज़ बोलता है, cash or credit. In fact, these days it's harder to get a Uber than find a match. Like even prospective mother-in-laws don't check that much stuff than the Uber guy. कहाँ जाओगे? कैसे पैसे दोगे?
Yeah, Uber has significantly reduced their like user experience. पहले तो फटाफट आ जाती थी. Now it's like the Uber driver is king and you're प्रजा. भाई आप हमें ले जाओगे, please ले जाओ. It's the same thing that we do with police walas, right? Like a typical famous comedian Manik Mana on YouTube. He's got this fantastic 3-part comedy act that's just come out. It's called Triptych. And he talks about कि हमारे अंदर क्या fear-based चीज़ें होती हैं. The edges he crosses in that when he talks about the police. कहता पुलिस को आदत नहीं होती उल्टा सुनने की. मैं I was like smoking a J and going. 4 policemen came. They were having cold coffee. So he's like, I reversed. He's like, क्या हो रहा है यहाँ पे? कुछ नहीं तो जाओ फिर. And he was showing that you can just this whole idea that police, right? Like everyone in India, we're so used to submitting to.
Yeah.
Right? Like great joke. He's like, oh wow, police आ गई. अरे बहन police आ गई. Like it's just the two juxtapositions.
Even if you did nothing wrong, police आ गई.
It's like ऐसा लगता है, oh my god, he knows the time I jacked off inappropriately in 7th grade. Fuck. It's like the police. It shouldn't be the case like that, right? But it is. Like the police is an instrument of fear.
This reminds me of another very funny joke Varun Grover had. It was about malls, security checking in malls. See, like security वाला ऐसे जल्दी check करता है. मैंने उससे पूछा तेरे बॉम्ब मिलेगा तो करेगा क्या बता भाई. मतलब क्या करेगा? You have one डंडा से बॉम्ब को फेंकेगा क्या? इसके आगे करेगा क्या?
बॉम्ब डिस्पोजल स्क्वाड को तो नहीं बुला पाएगा, भाग देंगे, इवैक्यूएट कर देंगे.
इतना जल्दी करते हैं. It's pretty funny.
It's great because like I think it comes down to like क्या trickle down हो रहे instructions, right? अब उसको बोलते हैं thorough checking करना. तो thorough checking के लिए वो करेगा 1-2 बार and then he realizes that there are too many patrons and then he wants peace of mind. So he's like बाहर से.
So this was again there in that Manu Joseph thing, like you have BSF jawans standing at airports, poor guys all day long they're standing and just checking.
To check people, right? They should be doing better things. Yeah, I mean, Manu was on the podcast. We talked about decouple for almost 2 hours and ये वाली बात निकल. Like the funniest scene in my opinion in decoupled is when they roll into Goa with a guy gagged in the dicky. Security guard is so used to that whole procedure कि मैं पहले डिक्की खोलूँगा, bonnet खोलूँगा, that he just lets it go. And then Madhavan has a laugh. He's like, wow, I did a one up to the world. मैंने दिखा दिया. But it's true. There's all these absurd things that are just put in place in the name of शोशेबाजी. जैसे बोनट खोलो, you go outside hotel, बोनट खोलो. मैं जो बोनट क्यों खोलूँ मैं?
नीचे बॉम्ब के लिए चेक करेगा. अगर क्या मैं 1990 का विलन हूँ क्या? बॉम्ब अपने बगल में रख के बैग में ले आऊँगा यार.
हाँ यार, गाड़ी के नीचे कार bombs. Like I mean I get it, like when 26/11 happened and all of that, but it's just that the way it's done is just like we just want to show कि हमने कुछ करा है.
अरे एक बार एक SOP सेट हो जाता है, वो next 40 साल तक चलता है.
Statement of purpose ना. हाँ. Yeah. Because it's so hard to do iterations. It takes a long time. There's too many people involved in anything in India, right? It's never like कि 4 लोग एक चीज़ कर रहे हैं, 36 लोग एक चीज़ कर रहे होते हैं. उन सबको समझाना. Like I think how much time must it have taken for all the petrol walas across the country to say zero check कर लो. Because as when we were growing up, it wasn't the case. ठीक है? तो पेट्रोल की साइफनिंग वगैरह होती थी, फिर दिक्कत होती थी. Then if you go to a petrol pump now or डीजल भरवाने के लिए कुछ भी हमेशा बोलते हैं ना zero check कर लो. They always say it. Imagine how hard it must have been to like spread that message across the country to all petrol pumps to now that it's in habit. Now if you reverse it, how much time it will take? That's the problem. It just takes हम ऐसे एक हमें ऑर्डर मिल जाता है, फिर हम उसे फॉलो करते हैं and we stop caring about हमें इस पर इटरेट करना है या this is no longer in sync, this has become anachronistic. That is a problem. That is a problem that I see even with, for example, like do you still think print journalism has its merits? You do it online, right? आज भी
it does. Print journalism has its merits in the sense that at the end of the day, the story that is going in a newspaper is checked far more thoroughly. So it's harder for mistakes to creep in. because there's a guy checking it, there's a guy calling back. So there's something called a playback. What happens, I'll tell you how a story goes through. A reporter writes a story and sends it. There's a guy on the desk reading it, finding the gaps. He asks the reporters questions, he rewrites that copy and sends it back. And then asks the reporter, is this fine? So you have more checks and balances. As opposed to random things on Twitter or Facebook. Like the way people react to videos. You can just splice a video, make it shorter and give it a different meaning. That is not feasible. That does not happen on print to a certain degree. Of course, there's an argument for the model to change a bit because a lot of the newspaper is carrying yesterday's news, which people have already consumed.
Yeah, because they're not timely. सुबह ही आते हैं तो कल की वाली बात आती है and you can just check online.
So there's an argument for newspapers to become more analytical, probably.
Yeah.
Instead of just giving the news.
वही वाली बात है. Like for example, if you the problem with online news though is if you consume online news, there are so many articles and essays that you sort of have to read a bunch and then arrive at a conclusion. If the newspapers do it, they can work something like what is the I forget the there's this paid online publication. I'm forgetting, it's on the tip of my tongue. The Ken.
Okay.
Do you know about the Ken?
Yeah.
Yeah, so what they do is they provide like detailed analysis of each industry. So you can read them as white papers. अगर newspapers ऐसा करना, अब if you report on like कल 10 लोग मर गए COVID से, like that isn't the same. You could read it online. Be like, here's all people that have died from COVID in the last 10 months. Like that is something that they can come up with probably.
In fact, Ken, and there's a sort of splinter from Ken called the Morning Context.
Yeah.
And there are two of these, and there's a joke for a long time. I live in Bangalore and I don't work for the Ken or the Morning Context.
Why is that? Are they pervasive? Are they everywhere?
Yeah.
Let's talk about Lalu Yadav because you know what? Fun story. In a fancy dress competition in school, in KG class, I dressed up as Lalu Yadav. And I did the whole fake pan thing and like, मैं Lalu Yadav हूँ, मैं बिहार का विकास करने आया हूँ. And then I misspoke and said, oh, मैं घोटाला करने आया हूँ. And like, people laughed and whatnot. But love Lalu's nepotism. Love it. It's so open. You know, Rabri Devi becomes CM.
His daughter was the topper, medical topper. This guy, Tejasvi, was in the Delhi Daredevils for a very long time.
Without playing a match.
He didn't play a single match.
So when that happens, I think एक इंडियंस के अंदर एक innate चीज़ होती है ना, वाव फैमिली वैल्यूज. क्योंकि एक टिपिकल परिवार का करता क्या चाहता है?
Exactly.
मेरे सारे बच्चे अच्छी जगह स्थानों पे प्लेस्ड हों, हम सब साथ में काम कर रहे हों. Even Trump did that. Which I was very happy about. Like, अरे Jared आजा, एडवाइजर लग जा. इवांका तू भी आजा. एक काम करो फ्रेड, तुम वो कारोबार संभालो. It's the way it should be. Like, why surround yourself with all these snakes with vendettas when you can surround yourself with your own family?
Yeah. So this is something I wrote for HT. And then why this nepotism debate is surreal. Like, it doesn't make sense. We are all products of nepotism. We are all born with a certain privilege in this world. If I can live a better life because my dad worked harder, why can't Suhana live a better life because Shah Rukh worked harder than others?
और क्या? Why does she have to justify it? नहीं जी, मेरी अपनी मेहनत से है. नहीं.
अरे, it's not government's money. It's not taxpayers' money. करण जौहर को अपना पैसा लगाना है. अगर जोया अख्तर को अपना पैसा लगाना है, we have the choice not to watch it. So what is the outrage about nepotism?
Yeah, I don't get it. At this point, it just becomes stupid because whoever you meet, right? Everyone who's a kid, who's a star kid, I would appreciate if you don't use your phone.
Hey.
While we're speaking.
I was just searching for that article.
Acha, okay. It's funny that they have to prove that they have to basically revive a dead struggle from somewhere. Like, look at the time I struggled really hard in 3rd grade. So that they can be like, nahi, aapka bhi struggle hai. Because everyone is looking at them with like all these eyes. Ab wo kya kare? What is the alternative? To die? Right? To say ki mere ko bedakhal kar do, I'm going to live like a monk and then like come back. It's just stupid. But I'm not saying ki, you know, like star kids bahut bura ho raha hai unke sath, but I'm just saying it's a stupid debate. It's a pointless thing because it happens all across the world. Right?
We are not raised by our neighbor's father. Our father didn't raise our neighbor's kid. So why should it be different for them? And in fact, you can still choose whose movie to watch.
Yeah.
You can't choose. You can choose your politician. You can't choose your babus.
Right. I think it's also because once the UP Bihar belt of real life vernacular movies opened up, people fell in love with them. And they're like, अब तो बॉलीवुड जो भी देखेगा we're just gonna reject. We want more Pankaj Tripathi, more Nawazuddin, more पाताल लोक, हमें बस वो ही दो.
नहीं, but even this, Anurag said something. Recently, he did an interview with Live Mint's feature lounge, in which he says that I did not want people to give galis just for the sake of it. If you watch his scene where Manoj Tiwari kills that पहलवान,
हाँ, ओ क्या सीन है भाई, कितने मारने पड़ते हैं उसमें, चाकू मरता ही नहीं है वो पहलवान.
He's not abusing. क्या चल रहा है उस टाइप का. People are these days, the shows, they use abuse as something which is very cool.
Yeah.
In that they show abuse as a normal part of culture. Yeah. In fact, that entire assassin scene where they're discussing jackfruit कैसे खाना चाहिए.
हाँ, ओ यार मैं तो I've watched it over 100 times now, both movies. The first time I went to see it, I had 104 fever, but I still went. फर्स्ट डे फर्स्ट शो अपने पापा के साथ. एंड आई वाज लाइक मेरी ज़िंदगी बदल जाएगी. माई ट्विटर कवर फोटो इज फैजल खान गेटिंग आउट ऑफ जेल और सब उसका स्वागत कर रहे हैं. इट्स माई फेवरेट मूवी. एंड उसके बाद आई थिंक व्हाट हैपन विद मिर्ज़ापुर ऑल्सो इज दिस स्टार्टेड टू यूज ट्रोप्स अ लिटिल कैजुअली. आई डोंट नो पीपल नोटिस इट, बट वो मिर्ज़ापुर इज अ लिटिल मोर कैजुअल. दे गॉट सम थिंग्स राइट, बट वहाँ पे भी फॉर द सेक ऑफ इट कि और नॉन यूपी बिहार की बेल्ट के लोग खुश हो जाएंगे कि वाओ इसने गाली दे दी. दैट्स स्टार्टेड हैपनिंग.
In fact, Mirzapur, I remember I had written once that Mirzapur is the love child Anurag Kashyap did not want to have.
That's true. With who?
Anyone. No, but Anurag, in fact, I sent you that nepotism piece. In that, I had a line. Like just
Achha, you just sent it to me?
Yeah.
Achha.
So, in that, Anurag had like, if you consider the number of people who have come into the film industry because of Anurag's Gangs of Wasipur. Just look at them. Pankaj Tripathi, Nawazuddin Siddiqui, Rajkumar Rao. Then even Vicky Kaushal was an assistant director.
Yeah, but लोग ये बोल सकते हैं उनके पापा एक्शन डायरेक्टर थे तो इसलिए आसान था. His father was the action director in Wasipur, and that just made me love Vicky Kaushal more. It's like अच्छा आपके पापा ने. And like the fact that his father, I think at some point जो BTS दिखा रखा है मूवी का, he's chewing pan और वो क्या है उसको डरा रहे हैं उसको परपेंडिकुलर को कि तेरे को यहाँ से कूदना है बाइक पे, और वो कह रहा है यार मैं कहाँ फंस गया हूँ एक्टिंग में. And at the last moment they're like we're just joking with you, we're just fucking around with you, and like he starts crying.
No, there's another very good BTS video of Manoj Tiwari singing Jiye Tu Bihar Ke Lala, where Manoj Tiwari singing and Anurag and the music director, I think Sneha Kanwalkar, yeah. They're all going crazy outside the booth.
Yeah, I've seen it. There's also, you see BTS के अंदर Manoj Tiwari just doing a long, Manoj Tiwari just gets roused in passion और वो भैया just goes on and on, भैया और वो लोग, Sneha is dancing, it's great. You know, like Manoj Tiwari is a man of many talents. That's why
I have a Manoj Tiwari story which is not fit for public consumption. I'll tell you later.
ठीक है, for sure. I look forward to this. He's cute. He's also achieved that image, by the way. He's achieved that image, like lovable, cute, right?
Yeah.
Might not know everything, but like, अरे कोई बात नहीं यार. If you can do that, it's deadly to be sharp in the public's eyes in India, because their sentiments can go against you at all times.
So even Mamta has that. Like
she's lovable. What are you saying, bro?
Yeah. You guys are not thinking of it. You're thinking of it someone who lives here. If you're in Bengal and if you hear her talk, she talks like what we call a pishi. Mamta pishi is an aunt. She talks like that. Like घर जाके take a warm water bath. She has a very people connect. Forget her politics. I'm talking simply about oratory. She talks like your neighborhood auntie. And that works to a certain degree.
I want to talk about the patron saint of Bihari gangs. Only because मैंने वो parts में लिखा हुआ था and it just came up again. You said a report by the Bihar State Intelligence Bureau suppressed in 1997.
Yes.
Suppressed, I like that. By Governor A.R. Kidwai and PM I.K. Gujral noted that Lalu was the patron saint of a third of the 120 or so dacoit gangs.
There's an old India Today report.
Yeah. So he was the patron saint of a third of the 120, which is what, like 40? 40 gangs के जो patron saint हमारा आशीर्वाद है was Lalu. Did you live in that time of Lalu in Bihar?
I was there from 1990 to 94. So yeah, I have seen that. So, but my mother was there throughout. She taught there for 30 years.
Any surprising /cool /stories, weird stories that come up from that time, especially around his Gunda Raj ke around?
Yeah. So whenever anyone from his family would get married, those guys would come and take all your cars. Every
Forever?
नहीं शादी के लिए.
हाँ.
And they would give it back in beaten up conditions.
ठोक पीट देते थे.
हाँ. And it's not like it was out of the ordinary. It was considered. In fact, anyone who became very rich in Bihar would never flaunt their wealth. Maruti 800 के ऊपर कुछ नहीं खरीदेगा. दिखना नहीं चाहिए.
दिखेंगे तो आंखों में आएंगे फिर मरेंगे. अच्छा ऐसा भी सीन था क्या?
But he did have the popularity for a long time because one, he stopped the Rath Yatra, which gave him secular credentials for a very long time. Second, what happened was he was the first non-upper caste leader who managed to have that sort of pull. So that also stuck for a long time, right? In fact, there's an old saying, I think it was some upper caste leader saying, ये कब तक रहेंगे? The reply was, जब तक आप लालू जी बोलना नहीं सीख जाते.
Oh.
And he was there for that long.
Yeah, also the first leader with ear hair, and he rocked it very well.
In fact, there's a video in 2015 elections. He's mimicking Modi. 70 crore, 80 crore. Modi ji आराम से बोलिए नस फट जाएगा. He does it very funnily.
I had very high hopes from Tejashwi only because I was like, a youth leader aaya hai and he was giving interviews and stuff. Then just kind of sad to see Nitish Kumar win again.
No, Nitish, in fact, you have to appreciate Nitish Kumar. He has a 2 to 4% base and he has managed to remain a Bihar CM for so long.
People don't like him?
They like him, but in Bihar, you do have your caste bases, right? So Nitish's base is small. Just his caste.
What uska caste base kya hoga?
Around 4% total.
Okay.
But he has managed to bring them all together and continue being CM. Hey, is side ya us side. In fact, there was an old saying. So Nitish's number 2 for a long time was Sushil Modi. And Sushil Modi, so when BJP and JDU were separate, they're contesting differently. Modi said, मेरे को तो नीतीश जी मना करते थे आने के लिए. वो बोलते थे हमारे यहाँ तो एक मोदी जी पहले से ही है, आपको आने का क्या ज़रूरत है?
That's crazy. Why is it that Muslims and Yadavs वाली vote bank साथ में जुड़ जाती है? It happens in UP. It happens in Bihar. Is there a specific reason for that?
I won't guess, but I'd say that it's probably because they feel it's a way to counter the upper caste votes. So it's a MY vote, so to speak, which has happened this time also.
That's what I was saying.
But that's where your Hindutva comes in. It aligns a bigger voter base which goes beyond caste.
Yeah, there's also like articles and essays that keep popping up on my feed that say, ki, meet the Muslim Hindutwas, which kind of doesn't make sense.
So this entire, it's called meme beam unity. It does not work in real life. It's an imaginary thing.
Oh, meme, because यहाँ पे there's another word that they use for rural Muslims, meme. They call them meme, which is, I think, that only. Right?
Meme beam unity. It doesn't exist in the real world. It exists in the minds of liberal op-ed writers. कि ये लोग आएंगे upper caste. So people keep saying upper caste Hindutva. That's mistaking Hindutva for starters. Hindutva is getting rid of caste from Hindu society as a general overall. How can you say it's upper caste Hindutva when the president is not upper caste? The PM is not upper caste. How many of the ministers are upper caste? You just look. It's an imaginary situation people have created in their heads to say that these are the people voting for BJP, which is not true.
I never thought of that until now. That's crazy.
How is Hindutva upper caste? And dismantle global Hindutva. It's just funny, that entire thing.
Yeah. So who's doing it?
There are people, there exists people who think that this will keep them in attention. It will give them liberal cred. It will give them...
Liberal cred. Liberal cred JLF पे जाने से ही मिलता.
JLF में तो है ही liberal cred.
You said Shashi Tharoor is the Salman Khan of JLF.
Oh, you have to see Shashi Tharoor in a literature festival. It gets so packed you can't even move.
Yeah.
When he's there. The people come all the way from Delhi or Bombay just to hear Shashi Tharoor talk.
What is it about him? He's sort of carved a very different niche for himself in like all of politics in India. अगर आप देखो.
Because there are very few articulate leaders who have that sort of following, number one. Second, Tharoor has a long base of writing. He has been writing for very. In fact, there's an old story. In 1971, my dad was in IIT Kanpur. Tharoor had actually come for a debate there when he was part of St. Stephen's. And he riled up some of the IITians so much they wanted to beat him up.
Wow. So he is capable of inflammatory speeches as well.
Yeah. But he gets away with it. And while you might complain, we might say that he's out of touch. He's not. He is third time MP. He's winning Lok Sabha elections also.
ऐसी बात तो नहीं है कि JLF पे just जा रहे हैं. Like he probably has his voter base intact. But does a lot of Kerala speak English? That's my question.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
But it's not like Tharoor only speaks English.
Yeah.
He does have a voter base. Like he's one of...
I've almost never seen a public appearance where he's speaking...
he can speak Hindi, but it's not...
Not Hindi.
In fact, I remember Tharoor was in a debate with Mr. Pawan Verma. He was part of JDU earlier.
Okay.
Pawan Verma is also a very good speaker, but he doesn't have the complete package, so to speak. Tharoor is good looking, plus he speaks English, which is rare in Indian politics. So he has that niche.
Why do your Substacks have such awesome clickbaity headlines? As a fan of clickbait myself.
I am a huge fan of clickbait.
Hey man, shout out to clickbait.
What is clickbait? Clickbait, people presume it's a negative connotation. It's not. Clickbait is promising you something.
Yeah. But it has to deliver though.
Yeah.
In what quantity it delivers? That you can't guarantee.
Right. But it shouldn't promise something that's not there.
Yeah.
In fact, the perfect heading it should have a pun. It should have all the right keywords. I know it's boring from an...
It's not boring. I write YouTube titles all fucking day. I love it. It's I found that you have to have a strong... मेरे अपने उसमें you have to have a strong verb as well.
That's why you had the Putin heading.
Yeah, exactly. Alpha Putin destroys Beta Zelensky. The destroys is important for YouTube.
Of course.
You know, because there's a lot of people who love the verb. Destroys, obliterates, insults. It's
clapback मेरे को पता ही नहीं था. I learned it last year from one of our entertainment writers. I'm like, what is clapback? And then I see people started using clapback in political stories. Stalin claps back at Modi.
Oh, Modi. That's funny. It's cool because you need these because you've got such a competitive landscape where 1,000 articles are being printed, 1,000 essays are being written. You can't be like the juxtaposition of crime and violence in...
So I write like that also. If you search, there's an article, why we need to get over our Panglossian Kafkaesque narrative about Modi.
Yeah, Pangloss wala to wo hai na, a priority. Jo Pangloss is the philosopher in Candide Zadig. Yeah.
Who's always optimistic. So he's Panglossian.
Yeah, he's Panglossian because he also says sab kuch pehle se hi planned hai. He's like the Akshay Kumar in everything is planned. That's what he says.
Yeah. So he's overtly optimistic. Kafkaesque is overtly negative. So as I wrote that, with Modi, everything is either the most brilliant thing that has ever happened. He's walking a little ahead of Biden with
like this. Oh, wow,
Biden.
But he is like that though. He does that. He is very territorial. If you see him like Mark Zuckerberg side ho ja photo le rahe.
Abhi bhi to I don't know. I think it was Suzuki's chairman or something. And he's an old gentleman jisko samne se hatane.
I like it. I like these things because
camera idhar. In fact, there was an old meme. A9 always has the worst pictures. But there's like me Modi seeing आ गए फिर से गंदा कैमरा. ठीक है, आ ही गए तो ले जाओ 10-15 picture.
He's not saying, but his eyes are saying that.
आ ही गए तो ले जाओ picture. No, in fact, I had a old. Why do Israelis love Modi?
I don't know why.
Because he's a good Jew.
Nice.
Then there was another one, which was, so first time he went to the US, someone like Modi and Amit Shah are there. The Indian Prime Minister is here with his huge mandate.
Do you want some water?
Yeah. The Indian Prime Minister is here with his huge mandate. Amit Shah is like, idiot, I'm his friend, I'm not his mandate.
Nice. Yeah, I know that you were a fan of dad jokes.
Yeah, I have become a fan. I have too many dad joke friends.
But tell me about the titles and the headlines. Yeah, like even page views and clicks. I'm interested in that. Why? Because I think if you look at all the people on YouTube, I can talk about YouTube. I mean, journalism is thoda alag hai because you have to have credibility. You can't be like, hey.
Yeah, but you still have to give a fun heading. Like, I remember many years ago, Shivraj Chauhan, he was going to check flooding zones. And they picked him up, 4 of them. So the heading was Shivraj over troubled waters. MPCM gives new meaning to aerial survey.
Wow.
You have to have fun headings. Life is tough enough. If you're going to make people read news, make it fun. In fact, I used to tell my kids, I call them my kids, when we used to write online headings, like, this is so boring. Why don't you write it on a piece of paper and throw it out? Maybe a pigeon will catch it and one person will read it. That's the first rule of online journalism. Your heading needs to be fun. Your picture needs to be proper. That's why I use that Modi with
all the girls. Yes. It is also a big reason. If you didn't have that picture with Narendra Modi and Jacqueline Fernandez and a couple of other actresses and him standing in the middle, coyly and also happily at the same time, I would like be 50-50 on reading it. It's important. Like, people discount that at all. They think ki mere words hi bahut hain. It's the packaging.
If no one's reading your story, there's no point writing the story.
Yeah. That's why you should never, start your blogs with my musings. Because that's so self-indulgent.
Who are you? Tera musing kyun main padhu?
Exactly. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So you're a Substack writer, right? I think you've generally, like, all of your articles on essays, and I'm giving you a genuine compliment, they all make me want to click on them. Even if I'm not someone who's fully politically inclined, I'm like, this looks cool. Ise pad lete hain.
So I've been doing online journalism for now 11 years now. And I also teach a course. Not a course, I'm a guest faculty. I teach every
adjunct,
other week.
Right? Huh.
Yeah. Not adjunct also, just guest. At IMC, where I tell the kids, like, be fun. Now people share their jokes with memes. They share news with memes.
Aam Aadmi Party is the most successful party. उन्होंने क्या memes करे हैं? Sigma grindset use कर रहे हैं वो भगवान. You know what Sigma grindset is? भगवान मान के लिए Sigma grindset. I lost it. Their YouTube channel is so great. You can just watch it all day.
The one they made with Maskalandar with where they pick Bhagwat Mans as a CM and they have Rahul and everyone. It's so funny.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
It's there on.
Yeah, so that's what it is. It's you have to adapt to the times. Like, Bengaluru City Police was so famous on Twitter for so long because they would just use the memes that people use and just pawn it back to you with that police-like authority.
In fact, Mumbai police, they were spending 2 crore on social media.
Yeah.
इसलिए BMC वाले ये नहीं सही करते हैं अपना सारा पैसा वहीं खर्च हो जा रहा है.
They have to though because it just
but then it goes beyond. People start to expect that the real police will behave like the social media police. That won't. A person. This is something that people said about Corbyn after the last election in UK. Like
Labour Party वाला बंदा था जो Jeremy Corbyn.
हाँ, जो गंदा हारा था. That do not ever confuse your timeline for reality. Like so Labour voters or Labour activists might be far more vocal. The same way we have a liberal media which is so vocal.
It's so vocal you think the entire country is liberal.
Yeah. But that's not the case. So in the UK, conservative voters tend to be quieter. They might not shout all day long.
Hey, they're called conservatives for a reason. They're conserving energy.
अरे conservatives से याद है, you have to watch बोरिस को जिताना है वो वाला वीडियो है. एक वीडियो है. It's like a सास बहू video with the Tories made for Indian voters. Election का महीना है, बोरिस को जिताना है. It's the most brilliant video. It's there in that Boris piece.
Yeah, we'll look it up afterward. That's crazy. Yeah, it's smart. This is the way journalism should be. I like the whole. आज हम बात करने वाले हैं इस बारे में. Like that is also great, right? It's like this is what people consider like okay, bro. आज भी अच्छे reputed sincere journalists हैं, and they often like refer to this news reader type who's very prim and proper. But look at what we actually read and consume. It's fucking memes. वो ऐसे घटिया edits करके 240p की वीडियो को जिसके अंदर ऐसे eargasm type की आवाज़ आ रही होती है. We consume that. Our whole idea of like how we get our information is spliced across so many categories. No one has the time to watch a 9 p.m. prime time show. ये बताएगा.
No, 9 p.m. prime time show is. I remember once I had switched on Republic when I was at my place and my dad is like, "Are you trying to kill me?" उम्र हो गया क्या दिखा रहा है ये? It's horrible. There are 20 people shouting at the same time. It's like how you give someone a stroke.
Yeah. Although as a as a page views guy, I think they get their job right.
They do. They even online. They have a great.
Even online? Have you seen Rajiv Talwar of Ullu TV? No. So this is a guy you should probably check out. He's a guerrilla journo. How do I explain it? So वो क्या करता है? He's got जब मेहंदी लगा लेते हैं तो बाल ऑरेंज हो जाते हैं ना, अगर सफ़ेद हो रहे होते हैं मूंछ पे ऑरेंज. So he's got a little orange tinge and he like बहुत गाली देता है वो. तो वो सरकारी कर्मचारियों के ऑफिस में जाएगा और हल्ला करना शुरू कर देगा. तो वो बोलेंगे भाग यहाँ से. फिर वो गाली देनी शुरू कर देता है. And then they start like people start beating him and he's like मैं पिट रहा हूँ, and then he does a Facebook live of being beaten up.
Is this the same Bihar guy who was there like मैं civic engineer हूँ? नहीं, that's a different guy.
Yeah.
मैं civic engineer हूँ, आप रोड सही से नहीं बना रहे हैं, देखिए ये गलत है. like
वो अलग होगा. I don't know. ऐसे तो बहुत सारे हैं. Have you there's also this one RSS guy who came up जिसको ना लोग memes बना रहे थे. तो उसने मीम पेज के बंदे को पकड़ के कंस्ट्रक्शन साइट में कूद दिया.
वो वाला
1.5 साल पहले.
I don't know if he's a RSS guy.
2-3 साल पहले हुआ था.
One of the other.
But in the video he was talking about his qualifications. मैं यहाँ से मैंने डिप्लोमा करा, यहाँ से PhD करी है.
जो मारा था ना, जो मेमे बनाएगा. हाँ.
Oh, that's hilarious. I always like when these two worlds meet because क्या context नहीं है. So he probably doesn't have the context around what memes constitute. He gets pissed off. He thinks it's an insult. Memes are almost never insults. You know, it's always...
And everyone uses it. In fact, ये हमारी पार्टी चल रही है, बीजेपी वाले भी कर रहे हैं बंगाल में. JP Nadda did it.
He did?
Yeah.
He said it in a speech.
Yeah.
He references in a speech.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I'll send you the link.
That's crazy.
Everyone has to do it now. ये हम हैं, ये हमारे कार्यकर्ता है और यहाँ परिवर्तन लाने वाले हैं, उस टाइप का.
I also love Modi outside an airport. Oh my God. जब वो जर्नलिस्ट कह रहे होते सर हमारे को अंदर नहीं जाने दिया ऐसे, then he's just like concerned like oh my God आप
that was
yeah. It's funny, it's very funny seeing how politicians have to now work in this world that has become increasingly digital, where they have to now resort to communication online and in a way that is self-aware, also poking fun at.
But whoever his speechwriters are, they're very well informed. Like wherever he goes, he finds the right thing to say to people. In fact, when he came in that Coldplay concert, Modi came for 30 seconds before in 2016.
Modi came for Chris Martin ki yellow क्या?
Yeah, he didn't attend the concert. He has a video message.
Okay.
And he joked about demonetization also. If I speak too long, you'll ask me to return your money in new 500,000 notes.
Oh, Modi ji, आप भी ना हमेशा मजाक करते रहते हो.
And he says, he quotes Bob Dylan as Bob Dylan said, times are changing. So he knows what to say to an audience where.
Yeah. जब I think Star Wars, नहीं, Hugh Jackman के साथ, he was also on stage. And he said, may the force be with you. For Americans, it's funny because may the force be with you is a Star Wars reference. Yeah.
I know. I was just watching Obi-Wan Kenobi before I got here.
Yeah, no matter what he does, he knows, despite all the so-called, जब ऐसा लगता है कि fuck यार देश को फिर से ले ली, देश की बर्बादी कर दी, he can still come out with something that like just saves his grace. I remember one thing that I really enjoyed in lockdown is I actually looked it up. Who are the world leaders in the world who have a beard? Right? Like a long beard. And I was very surprised. Maybe there are a few Muslim countries where they have to have one, right? But nowhere else. All political leaders throughout the world, they might have a mustache. Unanimously clean shaven, right? And the beard part was such a brilliant PR play because it showed lockdowns ka time hai, main gambhirta se soch raha hu, I've also aged and I've become wiser.
No, so the other year was that the Bengal elections are and Modi ji is cosplaying Tagore.
Oh my God.
And that's why he had that entire shawl and that entire look was there.
Wow, I like that. I like that he said cosplaying Tagore.
In fact, there was an article op-ed on this also. I'm like, yaar, Bengalis itne gadhe nahi hai ki just because someone looks like Tagore, they'll start voting.
But like, is like, because you've lived there longer, like, is Tagore really like still in the hearts and minds of Bengalis?
Oh yeah. In fact, many years, 2 years ago, I had written a piece, dear Bhodra log Bengali, stop cancelling people who don't like Tagore. And I got so many comments from people, this can't be a real Bengali. How can he write this? Actually, Bengalis take offense if you say that. In fact, I was a kid. I did not grow up in Bengal, so I was not familiar.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in a lot of places. I was in Chhapra. I was in Singapore. I was in Gwalior in boarding school for 7 years on the Fort Sindhya School. I was in Kota. I spent time in Manipal. So I've been all over the country. And last 10 years I was in Bombay before moving here. So I've lived in a lot of different places. So you get a lot of different ideas when you have been around. Like my mother's place is a village called Kishanganj. Not really a village, it's a city. It's on the Bengal-Bihar border. My dad is from a place called Shamastipur. So I've lived in a lot of different places, which gives me an idea. And also I've had a certain Macaulay Putra upbringing, so to speak, anglicized upbringing. So it gives me a lot of insight. And in fact, I have an old joke that Kacha Badam, that song, that's the first time a Bengali wrote something that could be appreciated by non-pretentious people across the country.
That is true. Do you know in memes also, if people write paragraphs, they like to be Bengali. You know that, right?
Yeah.
That's a thing. It's a dank meme community use करती है इसको. If everyone's doing a comment लिख रहा है ना और वो paragraph वाला is like to be Bengali because Bengali is supposed to be verbose. I don't know how true that is, but
we are quite verbose.
Yeah.
In fact, that's why it was so funny, right? Like this guy finally, we have a Bengali song which can be enjoyed by non-pretentious people. Because Tagore has to be so deep.
Yeah, Tagore has to be sort of discovered and then sifted through.
Once a Hindi anchor, a Bengali called Tagore's non-anglicized name is Thakur. Rabindranath Tagore. He said Tagore, and the anchor took great offense. Tagore का नाम कैसे गलत ले रहे हो आप? अरे उसका असली नाम ठाकुर ही है.
जैसे आता ही है वो करना. आपने इसके लिए ऐसे कैसे बोल दिया?
अरे ऐसा एक Z News पेपर हुआ था. Z News called up someone thinking it was Yuvraj Singh. The guy was not Yuvraj Singh, it was some random guy. और हाँ मैं तो युवराज सिंह हूँ नहीं, आपका TRP खराब हो जाएगा.
Oh my god!
You have to find this clip. It's very funny.
That's hilarious.
And the guy laughs also. Ha.
Yeah, there's also a funny. I just remember there's a funny video clip of Rajiv Sardesai sitting with Mukesh Ambani. It's like he's asking something like.
No, मैं तो आपको seriously
लेता ही नहीं हूँ. So that's great.
Then that Pulkistan guy was so funny.
Pulkistan is who?
So there was a guy who said, "Janagana Vande Mataram गाइए." तो he said, "अब मैं गाता हूँ," and he did not know. So he just made up. So he said Pulkistan, so it became a thing. Like he's the PM of Pulkistan. What is the national bird of Pulkistan? So online, if you need traction, you need to find all these crazy funny people.
Yeah.
Like on Times Now during the entire Riya Chakraborty thing.
Yeah.
There was a case where they saw her WhatsApp. She had written Imma Bounce. IMMA bounce. That guy took it seriously. Clearly, she has no money. Her check bounced.
Oh my god, yaar, बहनचोद थोड़ा पढ़ लो. It's fucking like millennial Gen Z speak. I'm a bounce.
Imma Bounce.
Oh my god.
And he pronounced it like Imma Bounce. Clearly, she has money trouble. Like, बहुत serious है बंदा. This is what happens when there are no millennials in the newsroom, or there are, but they don't want to correct these guys. What happens with the entire McAdams thing? वो गलत नाम.
McAdams तो उसकी तो lottery लग गई. He's like, fucking, it's the greatest moment in history. McAdams मारे जा रहा just relentlessly. I am not McAdams.
I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to McAdams. I am McAdams.
तो जिसने वहाँ पे वो टाइटलिंग करी होगी ना उसकी लगी होगी उस दिन ढंग से. But that's what I'm saying. It's like, this is how news has changed. News was supposed to be this serious, solemn thing that dictated the fate of the country. But now it's all over the place and
Never
we just go...
dictated the fate of any country. It's a delusion newsmakers have that people listen to them. It is.
Who do people listen to? People listen to YouTubers and content creators though.
Of course they do.
Yeah.
In fact, I always say the words of the prophet from The Sound of Silence. Words of the prophet are written in YouTube comments. Like you have all those negative people on Twitter saying that ये क्या हर चीज़ है, this is not India, this is deracinated. अरे यार एक मूवी आ रहा है, देखना है देखो, नहीं देखना है मत देखो. हर चीज़ में इतना लंबा चौड़ा डिस्कशन की क्या ज़रूरत है? And YouTube में you go, they are happy. शाहरुख की बेटी है, अमिताभ का grandson है.
Yeah. Which is why I think YouTube is still representative of India as much as possible. It's not. It's not. It's the closest you can get to. So Instagram पे no, ठीक है. Twitter पे certainly not. MX Chakarak player if you're on it for sure. But as far as text, YouTube comments reveal so much about the psyche of the viewer. जो इंडिया में लोग actually देख रहे हैं.
अरे इससे psyche से याद है. There's a viral bahani interview recently. He did an interview where people ask him, like, why do you cover Urmi Javed? Urvi Javed.
Who's that?
Urfi Javed. She's an actor.
Acha, okay.
And he explains to his own family members that Urfi Javed is more popular than most actors when it comes to pap pictures. Second, he takes great offense. Vicky Kaushal and Katrina did not have a reception where they could take pictures. He gave Fardeen Khan's wedding as an example. Ki Firoz Khan had a wedding where he ensured every photographer got the same food as the guests and they all had pictures. And then he says the best thing. अरे आप एक रिसेप्शन तो करा लेते हैं विकी कटरीना. What are you trying to prove? आप बोलते तो मैं ही स्पॉन्सर करा देता.
Viral Bhayani is great. He's the king of paps.
When COVID started, he was messaging all the sellers on their Instagram accounts. When will you step out? Like it was a bad time.
You were just showing me, right? Like Kareena Kapoor spotted outside Ranveer's own dad's house.
Spotted outside.
It's great because the thumbnails and titles that Viral Bhayani types use, they are the best in the industry. You and I cannot even compete.
We can't. He understands what people want.
He understands. It's like, if it's just हल्का सा धक्का दिया होगा ना, उस पे thought bubble बना होगा, इसने मुझे थप्पड़ मारा, तुझे देख लूँगा. Just shit like that, and it's great. If you go on a YouTube rabbit hole, you can just keep watching Viral Bhayani videos. क्या बढ़िया है.
I don't remember the caption. He had a video of Taimur running into a wall accidentally. He was like, "अरे Taimur को लग गया."
No, you mentioned something about Taimur before this, right?
So
like how...
So I used to joke with my colleagues that with Taimur you can teach anything. So I call it 6 degrees of separation of Taimur. So how is Taimur related to the emergency?
How? I don't know.
Taimur's Saif's first wife was Amrita Singh. Amrita Singh's mother was Rukhsana Sultana. Rukhsana Sultana, I think that's right. She was very close to Sanjay Gandhi. She was in charge of the demolitions that happened in Delhi in a lot of places.
Okay, during the emergency?
Yeah. So,
you're just like saying Taimur ko... I see what you mean, yeah.
Okay, how is Taimur related to Rabindranath Tagore?
Soha Ali Khan comes to my mind for some reason
Sharmila Tagore. Sharmila is Rabindranath Tagore's brother's.
Also, he had like 5 or 6 brothers.
Yeah. So, he's related to Tagore. He's related to Raj Kapoor. He's related to Tiger Ali Pataudi. So, he has all 3. He better be a Oscar-winning World Cup-winning cricketer.
I feel like दुनिया तो फिर Flying Beast की बेटी और यही चलाएंगे तैमूर.
जीन पुल का ही है पूरा.
Yeah, it's funny that he's become the media's darling. Like it's because we don't have a royal family, right? That we can just like swoon over all day जैसे UK की press करती है.
Oh God.
हमें तैमूर मिला है. There's other kids as well. और भी खूबसूरत बच्चे हैं.
But other kids don't get that sort of traction. I can tell you that I see the page views, right?
Yeah.
Taimur gets more page views than any other star kid.
But why is that?
He has charm. I think he came at the exact right moment when this internet boom was taking place and everyone had a net connection and anyone can search. So earlier, the people who read news were probably people interested in politics. Right now, anyone with a smartphone is a potential reader. Like for you, anyone with a smartphone is a potential viewer.
Correct.
So we have to change based on that.
Yeah, the problem happens when people still behave like Walter Cronkite.
Yeah.
It's a light chili gayi hai. I think everything is still on though. We're fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Wow, bro. I never thought of that. Like why Taimur has such an influence. He also came at the right time because now we have a national pastime. We used to have when he was born, there was a national pastime of seeing what Taimur does. The only last time I remember a kid was that famous was Greta Thunberg. और उससे पहले when news channels are on, it was the kid Prince जो गिर गया था गड्ढे में. Remember that?
Yeah.
That happened for days and end. अब Prince ने खाना खाया, अब Prince chocolate खा रहा है, Prince हो गया था. I wonder what happens. You know, like I don't know if you do those pieces, but when people do those pieces, the stars of Shaka Laka Boom Boom, where are they now?
Yeah. So those pieces always have traction. Like you want to know where are they now?
Yeah.
Or you have pieces like the first Star Wars movie when they came out, Phantom Menace cast. Where are they now? What are they doing? Where are the kids? Are they still around? Are they dead?
Yeah. I recently started seeing, Koi Mil Gaya. Remember Koi Mil Gaya? Remember Raj?
Uh-huh.
The stereotypical handsome antagonist villain who's hell-bent on just showing his machoism. He still looks the same. Yeah, I think I recently saw him.
In fact, this guy was in Kelowna. There's a CrossFit trainer called Shivoham. Did you see Chandigarh Kade Ashiki?
I did, yes.
So do you remember the judge who was the CrossFit judge? A bald, beefy guy? So he was there as Frankie in Kelowna. He was a very thin DJ.
I just skipped through the entire movie. मैं ऐसे करके देख रहा था. I just watched the entire movie like that because I already knew what was going to happen. See, the problem is अब क्या है कि the template is set. Ayushmann Khurrana has one template.
Yeah.
He follows it. It was revolutionary in the first two movies. Now it's just boring.
Ayushmann Khurrana, is there a minority LGBT community? Ayushmann Khurrana wants to play you. Is there anyone left?
और क्या issues बचे? Like he's covered balding. He's covered like
he's covered balding, sperm donation,
homosexuality.
Trans rights हो गया, homosexuality हो गया.
हाँ.
अब क्या बचा है?
I think now he just has to go like he has to look out for like people who are handicapped. He has to take care of.
हो गया तो he played a blind guy.
Okay.
हो गया there. He's covered them all.
My God, your career and like Akshay Kumar just does it on a mainstream level.
So there was an old joke that there's a pact between Akshay Kumar, Vicky Kaushal and John Abraham on the kind of nationalistic roles they can play. Akshay spy रहेगा, Vicky military वाला रहेगा, John intelligence agent रहेगा.
That is so true. I never thought of it like that. But yeah, it's like Uri and like he's the intelligence agent. कहाँ बनता है वो?
Special 26 baby. सब में तो अक्षय ही intelligence agent है. And then you have John who's the military guy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's no. John is intelligence.
No, John is intelligence. He's a spy, and this guy is the military.
Yeah. Yeah, Akshay does like big things, like toilets वगैरह ऐसा, because he has to cater to all like single theater audiences as well, right?
Yeah, and he does it well. So a lot of people complain that why is he doing this? He's taking away someone else's voice. If someone else was doing that movie, people would not watch that movie.
Yeah.
They will watch an Akshay Kumar movie. So when an Akshay Kumar movie talks about menstruation or where Amitabh Bachchan talks about consent, more people will hear.
Yeah.
Isn't that what you want?
Yeah.
No one is reading a op-ed on intersectional feminism.
Yeah. Even though people try really hard to do that. This whole, मेरे को तो ये समझ में नहीं आता. I think it's stupid.
It's a media thing. This intersectional thing, if you explain to lay people, they're like, चलो आगे बढ़ो, पैसा नहीं है अभी, छुट्टा नहीं.
Intersection का मतलब होता है Venn diagram of what? Of the three things that no one cares about? Okay, great. Like, let's go. Diversity, inclusion and whatever
In
else.
fact, I have an old joke. When someone says they work at the intersection of technology, feminism and climate change, they understand neither technology, feminism or climate change.
Yeah, that sounds like a Talibism. ऐसी बातें तालिब ही करता है. It makes, like, so the issue with all of this is that it's not an original issue. It's an issue once again manufactured and imported. क्या होता है ना, like you use the talking points of the West and you try to superimpose them on India and let's say अब हम इस lens से हर चीज़ को देखेंगे. And then you start deeming things as problematic. यार ये problematic है, ये problematic
Deeply
है.
problematic.
मतलब what is problematic? The fact that you're like sitting at your home like broke as fuck doing this, isn't that problematic? तुम्हारे माँ बाप के लिए problematic नहीं है ये. So it's just
So in fact, when let's say someone says this panel only has men. Let's say there's a panel.
Yeah.
So why are you assuming our genders? Why are you assuming our genders? हम लोग से तो पूछा नहीं है pronouns क्या है. It's the entire West, CRT and all that. So this is something I used to talk to Kushal a lot about. Kushal
Mehra.
Yeah. So in the 90s and early noughties, the main opposition to freedom of speech came from the Republicans. Video games, rap music, ये सब बराबर, they are responsible for violence.
Yeah.
Now the entire opposition comes from liberals.
That's true.
You can't say that, you can't make jokes about this. In fact, I'm pretty sure there are lots of threads already on Ricky Gervais's new.
I haven't watched it. I've been told that it's transphobic, homophobic, racist, सब कुछ.
It's like there was an old joke, how to write a Vice article.
Oh, I've seen a video of that. Like they have a wheel rotate कर रहा होता है and like he has a dildo. And you just smash it.
You pick a country, you pick a minority, you pick something like, how is the drug trade affecting trans people in Myanmar?
Yeah, exactly that. Vice started off as very edgy, and then eventually it sort of devolved into this. They have some good pieces still that are very enjoyable.
There was an epic voice piece on about how a Sanghi guy was very good in bed. So he's like Sanghi on the streets, great in the sheets or something. It was not signed. No one signed the piece, but it was very funny.
Yeah, this they have a good sense of culture, but I'd be interested to see if Vice does a Hindi piece. Because if you still look at, I occasionally read Hindi newspapers. I love the headlines. Kitni badhiya. Teacher gayab, kursi pe lagi dhool. Oh bro, like I want to read the fuck out of it. If Vice does that, संभोग करते करते मिनिस्टर को पता लगा कि उसके बेटे का फोन आ रहा है. Some shit like it blow up.
Hindi headings में मजा आता है.
They're a little more, but the problem is like what Vice does is only made for like people who speak English, which is fine,
No, but people who speak English is beyond people who speak proper English. There's something I realized to a certain extent with Chetan Bhagat. Before Bhagat, most books would be for people who are elitists.
Correct.
The commissioning editors would be selling books only for them. Bhagat came.
But Kushwant Singh was also pretty.
Yeah, but not to Bhagat's level. Bhagat writes in English that anyone who has studied English anywhere can understand. So in a way, he taught India to read English. In fact, I had written a piece about that also. And a lot of people took offense, we knew English before. I'm not talking about you guys. There are people beyond you who read.
Yeah.
So Bhagat was accessible to much more of India than older English authors.
Yeah. Have you seen his YouTube channel?
No.
Yeah, he runs a full-time YouTube channel giving advice to people.
Oh God.
Yeah.
This is the problem. India में English आ जाता है फिर सब advice देना चल.
I think that is what I gathered from your English hypothesis. Is like English is a core skill. कहीं पे भी लगा दो कैसे?
कहीं भी लगा दो.
Anchor बना दो. Op-ed लिखवा दो. Obituary लिखवा दो. कुछ भी करा दो.
English is the. There's a very good book on this. It's written by a former journalist, Binu K. Jong. Entry from backside only. And mission with Indian English or something like that. It's very funny. He's described how English, and that's why English has also survived, because it's a language which borrows from other languages.
Yeah.
So you don't need to speak English like Queen Elizabeth. You can speak English in any way and people will understand. In fact, this reminds me of something very funny. Do you know Pranab Mukherjee, he had a very thick Bengali accent while speaking English. So you couldn't tell if you're speaking in Bengali or English.
That's so
and
funny.
His pronunciation was off. So he went to Israel and he told them, we love to eat Hamas.
Oh my God. And they loved it?
No, the parliament is like, Hamas is also the terror organization.
Yeah, but Israel hates Hamas.
Yeah, but still eat. And they were like shocked for 2 seconds. The Hamas, H-U-M-M-U-S. In fact, Indira Gandhi wanted him to take English lessons, but he was very proud of his accent. Like, this is who I am. Why should I change it? Which is...
So I have a friend who goes to a college in Germany, and he told me something recently that मुझे लगता था ये racism वगैरह खैर everyone experiences it to some extent. They issued a circular on English. No Indianisms allowed.
What is that?
It's the way Indians speak English. Indianism. हम जिस तरह से accent में बात करते हैं और like no entry from backside. I will revert back to you. You know, like all of those things that we use that are improper.
Revert we broke. Even Google says revert Indian English.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. But they called it Indianisms because they were trying to just target Indian students ki yaar tum, and like just say to the rest of the campus.
But why does it matter in Germany? They don't speak English anyway.
Yeah, but like I don't know. It was. He told me this. I was very surprised. Yaar aisa kyun ho raha hai? And then he complained, and then they're like, "We're so sorry," etc., etc., etc. But aisa chal jata hai casually. In fact, when I was in the US, I had a full fake American accent on, and then. Over the next 3 years, I slowly started to take it off till it became normal. And then I realized nothing changed. Initially, when you go, you're trying to accommodate to the people of that country. And so your speech style is very accommodative, right? As opposed to being disagreeable and standing alone in your accent.
In fact, in 2016, after the demonetization happened, I had gone to cover the US election. So what happens is you go to the consulate or they hold an event. So that year they held an event.
So you covered the US elections?
Here, Hard Rock Cafe, India में just
Hard Rock Cafe के अंदर elections
just the screens are there and you get a feel of what's going on. First, a lot of funny things. First, The breakfast was completely American, bacon and all. All the Marathi journalists were very angry. They said, क्या है वड़ा पाव लाओ, अपना मिसल पाव लाओ, ये क्या खिला रहे हो? Second, they then hold events every year, so they keep inviting journalists they know. So there was a US-India Dosti event, which we attended. And we are all drinking. There's a Taj in Bombay. And I remember I was telling one of the Consul General or one of his deputies that if we could survive Priyanka Chopra's accent in Quantico, I think US-India Dosti can survive. She's the first person to go from CIA to FBI. No one has done that.
That's crazy. She has just become, मेरे को लगता ही नहीं if she does anything in India, she's just become international now.
In fact, I have a friend in the US. She tells me that Americans think all Indian women either look like Priyanka Chopra or Mindy Kaling.
Mindy Kaling to Indian heaven. Yeah, that's so funny. Oh, yeah. They should totally check out some photographer की streets of India की photos ताकि वो बोल पाए, oh wow.
No, I find that Indians, they see ABCDs in general, they become very annoying after a while.
ABCDs ना हाँ अब आई ना मुद्दे की बात. ABCD, especially like what's weird is ABCDs barely have facial hair. Have you noticed that? Like this is a very specific thing. Or they will have facial hair that is trimmed like a Latino.
Yeah.
जैसे हम लोग क्या है, we keep it scruffy. Right? Regular Indian men जो यहाँ रहते हैं in the subcontinent, we keep it scruffy. We're okay with scruffiness. When I went abroad, all the ABCDs...
It really freaks me out when someone has
very like वो इस तरह से करते हैं, or they're completely clean shaven. Like 37-year-old guy completely clean shaven, all of Silicon Valley. No one sports a beard like they do in the subcontinent.
That's quite an observation. What about UK, or is that just a US?
UK के अंदर है. UK के अंदर is more prevalent because UK के अंदर there's the community sort of intermingle more. You know, Indians have been around for a longer time, right? But US के अंदर you'll notice like it's beard guys, like forget it. Like I was probably the only, international students, the way you can separate them is how
they keep their beard.
They keep their beard. And we keep it scruffy because यार we don't do it too much. यार या तो पूरा हटाया या stubble बनाया या कुछ करा, right?
Who was the last US president to have facial hair?
Roosevelt, probably. And I'm only basing it on watching Midnight Night at the Museum के अंदर जो
Roosevelt कौन सा साल था?
Robin Williams जिसको play करता है ना movie के अंदर. I just remember that.
Last one to have a beard probably was then Abraham Lincoln.
India के अंदर do have presidents had a beard? I'm just wondering. Vice President Hamid Ansari had a beard.
No one did. Before Modi, I don't remember anyone.
That's what I'm saying. It's a peculiar phenomenon. Like you can have Gyani Zail Singh and all those like Rajendra Prasad had a mustache.
Mm-hmm. Nehru did not.
Nehru was famously clean shaven.
Mm-hmm.
Manmohan Singh had a beard. Yeah. It's tricky. All the Sikh prime ministers or presidents or any other head of state type position will have beards. But it's a weird thing, no? All world leaders keep it clean.
Yeah.
Because a beard is polarizing.
True. And
keeping it clean, you can sort of project your hopes or like, I don't know, whatever, like desires, I don't know, onto them. I'm just wondering.
There must be a deep dive somewhere. Vice mein hoga.
Pakka Vice mein hoga, for sure. Let's go through some of the more stuff you've written on Substack. Achha, ek cheez aur hai. So, this page views business, now that you do it on this, what kind of topics / people get the most amount of views?
Most page views right now will be for cricket and entertainment. People care about cricket and entertainment far more than politics. Politics, at the end of the day, they only want to know who won. All the deeper political analysis is for journalists or think tank guys. Regular people don't care that much.
Yeah.
Election आया, result दिखाओ, चलो. In fact, I would say post 2014, I don't have any data to back this up, which is what I say that journalism has become too much about mahol. Bhai ka mahol. In fact, the other day I had a taxi driver whose name was Ravish Kumar.
Yeah, you posted on your Twitter.
He didn't even ask me jaat kaun hai. So there's an entire mahol thing which is not true. Let's say you say that democracy backsliding. What is democracy backsliding? Yeah. Has India changed from what it was earlier? India can they use the F word for everything. India cannot be fascist because India has already 1 million mutinies. Like, you gave a policeman example. It's like that. Every thana mein apna hi roadie hai. India cannot ever have one central leader who will control everything to that extent.
What about the fact कि जैसे you often mention in your Substacks that India के अंदर predominantly like socialist parties ही बहुत सारी रही हैं, right? Like कि what was the Lohia saying? या तो बनाओ या तोड़ दो.
मोड़ो जोड़ो या तोड़ो.
अच्छा, जोड़ो मोड़ो या तोड़ो.
Yeah, right. So basically, if you can't come together, splinter. But it's not everywhere. Like, how many socialist parties are there currently functioning?
छोटी parties ही है ना mostly.
You have JDS in Karnataka. You have JDU in Bihar. You have RJD. But they're socialist only in name now, most of the socialist parties.
So what is the exact, like जैसे बोलते हैं ना, ये capitalist है, socialist है, ये communist है, Marxist है. What is the exact ist that I can add to, like, say, the BJP, the Congress, the bigger parties? What would they be called?
BJP, Congress are both, to a certain extent, Congress post-independence and BJP now, they're both centrist Hindu nationalist parties.
Both are Hindu nationalist parties?
Congress was, till 70s.
Congress was a Hindu nationalist party?
Of course, it was the party of Hindu nationalists. Sardar Patel, even Bose was there. Everyone was there. In fact, Bose would probably be socialist if he was around. Because you have to understand where these guys are coming from. At that time, we had not seen the disaster that communism would become later on. We had not seen the Soviet Union crashing. So for them, communism was a very powerful medium standing against Western imperialism. So that's why Indians and Russians, they got together. It was deeper than that. In fact, there's a meme, I don't know if you've seen it, where India and foreign policy meeting all the nations.
Oh, the famous Key and Peele sketch. Yes. Where Key or Peele, I don't know. The one guy that plays Obama a lot, right?
Yeah.
He, जो भी उसे black लोग मिलेंगे, उनके साथ वो proper वो एक, you know, like that hug.
And when he meets Peele, he's like, someone tells him 1/8 black. So he's like, And so they show that India with all the nations.
Israel. That's India and Israel.
India. The best was the Bangladesh, Pakistan.
Yeah, we want one more of that. Yes. People can watch that video. It's a hilarious video. I think it's on your Twitter. People can check it out. But yeah, I would, because I kind of like it. I kind of like it when people when they take one step forward and they become, like, they use memes to otherwise be like, bro, तेरे को 36 पेपर पढ़ने पड़ेंगे इंडिया के डायनामिक्स समझने के लिए और कंट्रीज के लिए. Instead, like, the memes explains everything.
In fact, foreign policy, which used to be seen as such a serious thing, has changed after Twitter. Now we have Twitter diplomacy, where they're fighting with each other. All the politicians are laughing with each other. Shahid Afridi कुछ बोल रहा है, अमित मिश्रा से कुछ बोल रहा है. क्या गजब टाइम में हम लोग रहते हैं.
There's this, Shahid Afridi's supposed son-in-law.
Okay.
The other Afridi. Shaheen Afridi. Shaheen Afridi, you saw, right?
He has that popular smiling thing, na?
Yes. So someone said, मतलब memes इतने funny होते हैं ना. They had Shaheen Afridi's face on the top, and नीचे एक sofa था. The sofa had the same dimples.
There was an entire thread on the recent Ravi Shastri ad. Ravi Shastri has cocktails.
Oh, because everyone knows that he drinks.
No, but Ravi Shastri as cocktails. So he's wearing a purple jacket. There's a purple cocktail next to it.
Is it a cred ad?
नहीं cred का नहीं है, but कोई बनाया होगा उसके बाद. But that cred ad was pretty funny.
That's what I'm saying. What cred has done is it's taken a lot of people who are legacy media darlings, brought them back to us as self-aware beams.
Yeah.
Which we all love.
They've done it very well. Govinda, Bapida,
Madhuri Dixit.
And as someone noted, the only people who probably had to audition for those jobs are the people holding the auditions in that ad.
Exactly. Baaki sab log to honge as it is. There's even a very weird ad that I saw for, I don't know, some cold drink or something, where Jackie Shroff is playing this Western badass. जो hat पहन के वो एक टेक्सास के किसी ऐसे, like that filling station, like miles and miles of road and desert, and there's a filling station, and Jackie Shroff is the store owner, but he's sleeping with the sombrero hat on his head, and like ऐसे वो
I've not seen this. I'll have to see this.
Yeah, it's what I'm saying is Jackie Shroff with his rugged looks can be appropriated into anything.
Jackie Shroff's sex appeal was on a different level at that time.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't have these guys who go to gym all day and all this. Sex appeal came naturally.
Yeah, that working class bus conductor, like high society ladies.
Which is still there in the southern cinemas, I think, to a certain extent.
Yeah, is it? Have you watched RRR?
No, but I have watched Pushpa. So my girlfriend's Telugu, so I keep track of everything that's going on in Telugu cinema.
They're still delivering blockbusters, which I like. They're still keeping that.
They're making movies which regular people want to watch. So I remember when I took my dad to see DCH, I think this was 2001.
What is DCH?
Dil Chahta Hai.
Achha.
Which year was that? 2001 or
2001 mein aayi thi, yeah.
And he asked me, have they stopped making movies for poor people?
Wow.
And think about it. Look at the Bollywood movies that have come. They seem to cater to a multiplex audience only. I'd rather watch a Pushpa. Yaar. It's so much fun.
But it's also because like apps like MX Player and like YouTube पे इतनी सारी free movies हैं, which are catering to that crowd. Because they also like just because हम blockbuster से bore हो गए इसका मतलब थोड़ी कि बाकी लोग bore हुए हैं.
No, so exactly. It's like it's also a certain degree that Bollywood has people who are very out of touch. You take away the Anurag Kashyap generation that has come through, but they were people growing up in Bombay who were not in touch with other parts of India. So they make movies for what they think is their reality, which is not that.
हर चीज़ झूठ चौपाटी नहीं होती.
In fact, Andheri and Jhut Tripathi, yeah. But I think there's someone wrote this in that article only that the underworld thing, it used to be Mumbai centric, but then it's moved Bihar after Gangs of Wasseypur.
I'm very happy for that. क्योंकि मुंबई ये गुंडे को समझने के लिए you would have to understand, like you have to read डोंगरी तो दुबई पढ़नी पड़ेगी. You have to like watch a couple of movies like Risk, D Company, है ना, ये सब shootout वगैरह to understand. सत्य देखनी पड़ेगी.
Satya was a masterclass.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is it shifted. Mumbai gangster is just it's Zishan Kadri's Mirathia gangster now. That is a feature. And it's good also because we didn't have any like if you think about it, like I can speak about the North, right? Like the North didn't have too much representation. Unless Mumbai की पिक्चरों के अंदर दिल्ली में politics वाला कोई scene होता होगा. Like the flight takes off from Mumbai and lands in Delhi.
Which is strange because Bollywood's first family is from Punjab, like the Kapoors and all. They came from Punjab only.
Yeah.
So which is rather strange.
Like I remember, I think in Jab We Met or some picture, they showed Delhi तो उसके लिए तुगलकाबाद दिखाया था, which is the outskirts of Delhi, which is not even like Delhi. उसके बाद भी थोड़ा अंदर जाके जी के आता है.
So what is the best Delhi-based Bollywood movie?
Based Bollywood movie?
Delhi-based, like Delhi-centric. Rang De Basanti, something.
Rang De Basanti came close. There's this film called Dil, Dosti, etc. It's with Shreyas Talpade and Imad Shah.
I have seen.
Yeah,
in which Imad Shah has a bet where he'll sleep with three women.
Yeah. So that film is pretty cool.
That had that epic chant also, that mother father Banti Sagar.
Oh, Banti Nagar, mother father Banti Nagar. हाँ. कितना so वो उसके अंदर that college politics वाला scene is shown because Shreyas Talpade is like बिहार के पापा उसे बनाना चाहते थे IAS. He's like नहीं मेरे को राजनीति में आना है. He plays by the rules, then he gets dirty. For one candidate, in order to make him sit down, he literally grabs his crotch और ऐसे दबा देता है public में जाके. So there's that going. It's a fairly like underappreciated movie क्योंकि वो आई चली गई.
I think I saw this in Kota in 2006 or something. तभी आया था ना.
हाँ. तो उसमें DU के college election वगैरह भी दिखाते हैं. Then you've got this aimless kid Imad Shah who has offers from Stanford, but and उसके typical like he's separated from his college reality. फिर उसका घर है उसका वहाँ पे वो ऑरेंज जूस मिल रहा है सुबह. सो ऑरेंज जूस if you look at wake up sit in this, it's like the sign of richness. क्योंकि सुबह ऑरेंज जूस कौन पीता है? You know, he's being served orange juice. His parents are already like dressed nicely, sitting on the table. Ki, why don't you do something with your life? Ki, nahi, matlab DU ke boys also.
So this is for Bollywood, you're rich if you drink orange juice in the morning.
Yeah, that's why Ranveer Kapoor drank it in Wake Up Sid. You know.
Ranveer Kapoor has played the same character only.
Yeah, isn't that the joke that he always plays coming of age characters? Yeah, and it's been a while since he came of age. Yeah.
Yeah, but he hasn't done a movie in a long time, right?
Yeah.
Been a while.
Well, it's been great having you on Dostcast, bro. We've hit the 5 hour. It's 5:20.
Oh God.
Oh God. Nahi. Badhiya scene hai. Where can people find you?
I am on Twitter, Nonsensical Nemo. And you can...
Your Substack as well. So as far as Substack is concerned, like, do you see how many article views you get? Do they have that? I haven't used Substack.
So yeah, you can see how many people are reading it, how many are coming through Twitter.
और भी like Twitter पे threads भी होती हैं. People have personal websites as well. Why did you choose Substack?
Because it's a longer medium. Earlier I had a WordPress blog also. It's the same name, Nonsensical Nemo at wordpress.com. And Substack is because you can send it on email. I am
So
also,
you have a huge email list then probably.
Yeah. I am also a newsletter editor, and I've realized that emails give you a different place to get people's attention. Because when you're reading something in your inbox, you're not being being given ads. You're not like if you go to a website.
As long as you open the email though.
Yeah.
Because मेरा email inbox भरा रहता है. So I really have to.
So it depends. Like even the Ken, TMC, all these guys, they have lots of different email products where they send it through emails, and there is an audience for that.
What works for it? Like sometimes I know कि if you want people to open emails, you go like, here's the $10 we owe you. Oh, for sure मैं खोलूँगा ऐसे. Even though I know the template now.
Oh, the Nigerian prince. No, but emails, what you do is you have to have the right subject, the right heading. Like I work with so many guys. One of these guys is a guy called Vivek Kaul. He writes about business, but he writes it in a business, and he has a very famous trilogy called the Easy Money trilogy. So he writes a newsletter called Easynomics, in which he takes simple things and explains it. So he was explaining something called inherited intelligence. So he takes the Gambhir Dhoni idea that, so you have a heading, Gambhir Dhoni and what we can learn from them. So someone will click that, but then it's a deeper topic. It's clickbait at the end of it. And it's a very interesting thing. Gambhir had a much better World Cup than Dhoni. But we remember Dhoni because he hit the final runs.
Yeah.
And which Gambhir is angry over till now.
Yeah, that's why it's politics.
Right. He wrote to ESPN Cricket Falls. A lot of Indians were part of that squad, not just Dhoni.
It's so funny because that's why he got into politics as well, I guess. Yeah, it's that thing, the Daniel Kahneman, he talks about people only remember the peak and the end experience. They forget everything else. You could be the top opener, but like peak moment kahan aaya tha, end kahan pe aaya tha.
Yeah, that's how we remember life.
Dhoni is
also.
India's Achilles.
वो भी है.
सही है. It was great having you on Dostcast, bro. Mad fun.
Sure. I was against the idea because I don't like talking. But
Yeah, but you spoke a bunch. Yeah. But people can check out your Substack. I think it's a hilarious Substack. I really enjoy reading it.
Also, they can check me on Twitter.
Yeah. That as well. वो तो है ही, where you post jokes and pictures of politicians when they in the 90s, black and white वाली photos के अंदर. I was so surprised to see, I forget, Sharad Pawar. No, Sharad Pawar was not.
That's not Sharad Yadav.
Sharad Yadav, so sorry. I think I misspoke earlier as well. I apologize for that.
So it's Sharad Yadav,
because I was surprised
Paswan, and Lalu. They were all youth leaders together under JP.
Yeah, they look beautiful.
In fact, there's another very famous picture of Sitaram Yechury standing with Indira Gandhi in 77 or something, where Mr. Yechury is looking very young. In
all these guys are cuties,
In fact, I think that someone like Sitaram Yechury should be in Rajya Sabha because you need those voices also. You need voices of dissent who will be.
He was on Samdesh's channel
a
while ago. And he was very nice, very kind.
He's a very polite communist as opposed to. In fact, there's a Jyoti Basu article
Revolution.
in there also. There's a Jyoti. In fact, there was a Jyoti Basu article I also did. So I have a 4 millennial series, a few of them.
One was 4 millennial series.
So like Lalu for millennials, I have Jyoti Basu for millennials, LK Advani for millennials.
Yeah, I would love to read I haven't read the LK Advani one. I would love to read him. Read that.
So even Jyoti Basu, people forget, like, India is the only place in the world where communists win elections. Because communism means overthrowing that democratic structure. But in India, they adjusted to the reality.
Yeah.
So that's what makes them unique. That's what makes Indian democracy unique. People keep saying fascism and all that. But I think Indian democracy is strong enough to survive and have places for all voices.
Well, yeah, we certainly spoke about all kinds of voices today. People can follow you on Nonsensical Nemo. Baki tab tak ke liye Shubh Ratri, Shubh Day, Shubh whenever you're watching this. And we'll see you on next Tuesday or Friday. Don't forget to subscribe. Bye-bye.